Hello, welcome to Daily Life Connection video talk time. Thank you for joining us once again today as we explore who God is and how He operates and what difference that makes in our lives. I'm sure many of you are aware that yesterday in our province of Nova Scotia, a very tragic event took place with a number of people losing their lives in senseless violence and an RCMP constable losing her life. For my wife Juanita and I, it was particularly difficult because she has been a very good friend to my wife, and her husband teaches at the same school where Bonnie is, and this couple has just been very dear friends to her, and so this was a particularly difficult time for us, for sure. And it makes it, what do I say? I don't want to come on here and try to say it's all okay and no pat answers today. No trite little comments to get us going. But I do want to take us to the Word, because that is where we find strength, consolation, comfort, encouragement, and direction in these difficult times. Here we are going through this pandemic and all of the uncertainty that it brings, and then today this tragedy just seems to, well, it can feel like the last blow, can't it? You know, I'm reminded of a scene in the Lord of the Rings trilogy where Samwise Gamgee and Frodo are in Minas Tirith after a battle, and it seems like everything is going wrong. It seems like there's no hope whatsoever, and it just seems like the last straw. And Frodo's sort of ready to give up, and Sam looks at him and says, "Mr. Frodo," he said, "there is some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. There is some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for." Sam had a confidence that what he was experiencing was not the end of the story. And that's where I want to take us today. I want to go to Isaiah chapter 42, verse 3 and 4. It says, speaking of God, "He will not crush the weakest reed or put out a flickering candle." Another translation says, "A bruised reed he will not break. A dimly burning wick or a smoldering wick he will not extinguish." Sometimes in these difficult times of life, when things seem to pile on top of other things, we can feel like that a bruised reed. When I think of that, I think of a cattail that sometimes we use for decorations, a reed from the rushes in a pond or whatever, and they're fairly sturdy. But if you bend that until it kinks, then it takes almost no effort whatsoever. You can get it straightened out, but the least little puff of wind will blow it over where it's kinked. There's a weak point where, and it says, and we look at it and we go, it's no good for anything, let's throw it out. But it's saying with God, He looks at us when we're at that point of, we just feel like we have no strength to stand up straight anymore. He's not going to throw us out. He's not going to throw us to the trash. Or, when you've got a little candle and it's burning down until the wick is almost out for some reason. There's almost no light or heat coming from it. And the temptation is just blow it out. And it's saying God's not like that. Even when our stamina is right down to the last little flicker, He's not going to just blow us out and discard us. He won't do that. That's not how He is. And one of the reasons for that is, in the rest of that verse we find, it says, "He will bring justice. He will not falter or lose heart until justice prevails throughout the earth." until he has established justice on the earth. You see, our brokenness, weakness, dimness isn't what's going to determine the final chapters of this story. It's his plan, his purposes. Samwise, in that moment with Frodo, somehow he knew that there was something greater going on than just their part of the story. And I think if there's any encouragement, any comfort today for us, it's this, that the overall the events we're in right at the moment are not the whole story. In fact, they're not the end of the story. In fact, they're a minor subplot in the story. God says, I know the plans I have, and they will succeed. And his plan is to bring justice and a kingdom of goodness to this earth. Sam is saying to Frodo, you know what? I'm going to join with that. Even when I feel defeated, even when I see no hope, even when it seems like it's not what I'm doing is not making any difference, I'm still going to join with the good. I'm still going to join with that. I'm going to partner with that. So I guess my little talk today is simply this. We will not let evil win out without a fight. We will not accept the darkness of this time or the tragedy of yesterday around us. We will not let those things have the last word. With whatever strength I have, I'm going to partner with good, with justice, with grace, compassion, mercy. And I really believe that as I partner with, because that's God's story, that's the bigger story. And as I hook my little story to God's bigger story, I will find there is a strength that even in my brokenness, I'm part of something stronger than myself. Even in my smoking, dim little candle wick, there is something much brighter than just me. And I'm going to partner with that. So as Samwise said to Frodo, Mr. Frodo, there's good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. So that's what I want to share with you today, because sometimes we just have to say, I don't see it, I don't feel it, but I trust it's true. And therefore, I will partner myself to his kingdom, to what he's doing. And as long as I have breath, I will not accept that evil will win out. Pray with me today for the families that are suffering in our province, the broken hearts. Pray for my wife as she goes through this time of loss of a dear friend, and for the staff at her school who will grieve with her husband. But in it all, this is not the end of the story. This is still not the end of the story. And somehow, some way, God brings a good end to the story, and justice, and life, and resurrection. Thank God we've come through Easter just recently. Resurrection. He brings life out of death. And he will. He will. You can count on it. You can partner with that. God bless you this day as you partner with him in the good of his kingdom. We'll talk again tomorrow.